Welcome back to King Explosion Resale. I'm Noah. Today I want to tell you about a few things you should know before you start reselling. I don't really have these in any kind of order other than the fact that I'm going to put the one that is the biggest to me last. The first thing I want to talk about is sourcing. Finding the items that you're going to sell, finding your inventory. Sometimes there are going to be times where the places you usually go to or the ways you usually find your inventory are going to come up empty. So I just suggest that you really diversify your sources of inventory. The biggest ones, of course, are thrift stores and yard sales, but sometimes during the winter season there are no yard sales. Sometimes during that time there are no great items at the thrift stores. Make sure that you're looking on Marketplace, you're looking on apps to find free items to flip. Don't just have thrift stores and yard sales. Next thing I want to talk about is the seasons during the year. This goes along with the last one a little bit. It's January, and that's one of the slowest times of the year. January, February are usually the slowest for sellers, and they're hitting me right now. I was progressing every week since I've been doing this, but this last couple of weeks has been a little rough, but I'm still in there going through it and listing something every day to keep my views up on my items, and I'm still making sales, but it's just noticeably slowed down since December and the very beginning of January. So just something to keep in mind before you really dive into this, especially if you're trying to quit your job and just jump into this full time because you're making good sales in December. You really need to think about it first, get through these months before you quit maybe, but overall just have it in mind when you are going to jump into this, because there are slow months and it could make you think twice if you're not prepared for it when it comes. Next thing I want to talk about is paying your taxes. I know there's some stuff going on right now with the 1099K, the $600 reporting amount that has been delayed until next year. But if you're like me, you want to be selling way more than $20,000 a year anyway, so you need to be in control of that and you need to be ready for it. And if there's anyone you want to get in trouble with, it's not the IRS. Just make sure you're keeping track of what you're paying for items, what they're selling for, and the profit you actually get for them, so that you can file that at the end of the year so that you stay clear of the wrath of the IRS. Next thing is fees. If you've resold anything online so far at all, you probably know about seller fees, but if you haven't and you're really just looking into this now, seller fees are pretty rough. I believe Mercari has about 14% or so, if I'm not mistaken. eBay has about 13%, and what a lot of people might not know is that eBay's 13% or 12% comes out of the shipping also, unless you put free shipping. So just be aware of that. If you list something for $20, you're not getting $20 for the item. But just make sure that you're going to have enough of a profit margin before you list something to sell, before you even buy it. While you're looking at the sold comps of it, just be aware that there are going to be fees coming out of it, and you don't want to waste your money on something that you're not going to make money off of if you're reselling, because that defeats the whole purpose. Next thing is packaging. If you're going to have a lot of smaller items, or if you're going to sell clothing, it's not that bad. But with me, I sell a lot of large electronics, and it can be kind of rough finding large boxes for them. I'm spending a lot more money in bubble wrap and tape. Also, it just takes a lot longer, and you're just moving a lot of stuff. It takes a lot of room in your vehicle if you're taking the stuff to the post office or UPS. So just don't think that you're just going to sell it and somebody's going to just come pick it up for you and take it to the buyer for free. It is a bit of a process to package things, and it takes a lot of time. You just want to make sure that it's going to be worth it before you buy an item. If it's going to be worth your time and effort to package that, to make sure that your profit margins are good enough to where you're not just wasting your time and your effort and all the money you're spending on the packing supplies. Just something to think about. And the last one, probably something that every reseller hates getting, but it just is inevitable.
I am inevitable.
Is returns. I've sadly this week had a few returns on a couple printers, and It was really just because they didn't have ink in them. It was in the ad that they didn't have ink in them, but the customer for some reason expected a used printer on eBay to have a full new cartridge of ink with it, which sometimes costs more than the printer. It's just something to think about, because you're gonna have it eventually. Even if you sell 1,000 or 2,000 items before you get one, you're going to eventually get someone that wants to return the item if it's a shirt that they think is their size and it's not going to fit, or like me, if it's a printer that they didn't decide to read the full ad about. Just be aware of that. It'd be a really good idea to put some money away for that, because when there's a return filed, it takes away from your available funds, and if you don't have any, it will eventually come out of your bank account. So you're not going to want to spend all your money on items or bills or something, and then that come out, overdraft you, and it'd be really rough. So just another thing to think about and be aware of and be prepared for before you jump into this. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for today. Just a couple of things to make sure you're ready for this before you jump into it. I'm still pretty new to doing it at the scale I'm doing it at, but just being aware of these things has really helped me. There are probably a lot more that I could be aware of that I could have talked about in this video, but those are the ones that stuck out the most to me before I made this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Have a good day.